Hello! Welcome to another edition of You and Who's Our May. I'm your host, Randy May. Welcome. So, what would you do if you lost your job? Or more accurately, you knew you were losing your job and you knew that the industry that you were working in was going to vanish, at least for all intents and purposes. Let's say you can see the writing on the wall, you can see the light in the end of the tunnel, and it's definitely a train. Let's say you are a peanut butter bar and there's a grizzly bear climbing into your tent. Let's say that you're a mosquito and the rest of the world is a big fucking Raid can. Let's say that you are a goldfish and the rest of the world is a bunch of rabid cats. Let's say that you are a cockroach and the rest of the world is a big brown leather shoe. Actually, I would take the cockroach in that one. I've seen them just like get out of all kinds of situations. Anyway, so what happened to me was just that. I was working for, my parents had a store. It was a gift store, started in the mid-70s, grew into something pretty good. I actually made a pretty good living building it into something called Hightower Collectibles. We sold high-end gifts and collectibles. We had our own line of exclusive products, and I was running the place in the late 90s, early part of 2000, and beyond. And then in 2008, the housing bubble burst. Most of our manufacturers stopped making shit because everybody was weren't buying anything except food, or they were buying flat screen TVs, and they had gotten rid of all their old school TV cabinets, and they weren't putting like cool looking shit in there like knickknacks and we used to sell die-cast cars and Christmas villages and this stuff called Giuseppe Armani Italian porcelain sculpture and Lladro, which was Spanish. The Spanish version of the porcelain sculptures. And it was a lot of fun and it was very successful. And then all of a sudden we had no new stuff to sell, which is kind of important. You got to have the new stuff. You don't go into, the Piggly Wiggly and suddenly they have used bananas on sale or used cans of soup. It's a hard business to cross over to. So, I found myself trying to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do. I stopped paying myself. I got a job at Colorado Springs World Arena, and I started working in the parking lot, which sounds like kind of a dreary job, but it was actually, suddenly I realized this is a lot of fun. I got to talk to a lot of people that were excited to be not at work anymore and at a fun thing that I had season tickets to CC games from 94 to 2009. 2009, I was at every game as your favorite parking lot guy. And so, what's going on here? Fix all this shit. Okay. Same. Okay. So I had a lot of thinking available to me during those games because it was my job to. It's a lot of glare. Am I too easily distracted? Hold on a second. I think I can fix this. Not sure. Gonna try. How's that? Better? Different glare? Okay. I'll take it. So, I'm working at World Arena and I have a lot of thinking to do because it was my job to wait for everybody about an hour and a half before the game, sometimes 2 hours, before they even really started showing up, actually, not before the game. And set up the lot, wait, make sure that early birds don't come in. We had security checks. We had to make sure everything was sealed off, kind of. Everybody's in position. Then the cashiers come out. And so I had a lot of thinking to do because I was there until way after the game. And I got to watch the second period of the game and do all that. But during all this, I got to thinking, this whole crew, we've got a manager, we've got his boss that's an accountant for World Arena, and this is kind of a decent sized venue, 7,000 seats, and quite a lot of events. I mean, not just hockey games, concerts, graduations. What about football stadiums, NHL stadiums? There are also NBA stadiums and Major League Baseball stadiums. Wait a second. There's like 80 games a year over the course of 7 months. That's interesting. So I thought, well, shit, let me see what this is all about. Let me try to be the best parking attendant I can possibly be and try to further myself in this new vocation, in this new industry that I've discovered. And worked for a few years there. Ended up meeting my wife at World Arena. And really enjoyed it. I was the parking manager there for a while. Ended up applying for a position in Denver with a company called Argus. And they hired me. I think they kind of hire anybody just to see if you'll show up, to be honest with you. You can't get away with just being an idiot at Argus, but if you show up and you take a position and you are kind of a warm body, Argus can use you. But I wanted to be a lot more than that. I wanted to learn the entire event industry, security, guest services, behind the scenes. And so I ended up working a few events. My wife Tammy was kind of in between jobs. And so I asked her if she wanted to work with me. Because I was going to start working World Arena, this little company called Colorado Balloon Classics, which was the Colorado Springs Labor Day events company. The balloon glow and all that. That's the company that was. I was going to work for them. I had some online jobs. But anyway, I ended up working for Argus, and I would have to drive 90 minutes one way, something like 80 miles maybe, just to make $9 an hour for University of Colorado events. And we ended up working an event up there called Flood Watch. And that was overnights for about a week. And our job was to prepare the campus for what was supposed to be evacuees of the Boulder flood. And I worked to that, and I guess I did a really fucking good job, because the next thing I know, I was offered a promotion all the way to event manager of the campus, which was like the number 2, arguably the number 3 guy, if you count Chuck, who was the director, Gene Schlosser, who is both a manager and a director also. I was promoted to the number 3 guy. Staffing, recruiting from new recruits. Argus had a little office on the southwest side of Denver, and I would go down there and meet recruits and try to get them interested in driving all the way to Boulder, even though the reason why they signed up with Argus was to work at Broncos games, and that was it. I would try to talk them into coming to Boulder and staff them up there. And we had the basketball arena, Coors Event Center, Folsom Stadium, Buffs football, lots of frat parties, concerts, 2 or 3 lecture halls, campus security for events like cell phone giveaway tents, not giveaway tents, but cell phone promotional tents. There was a Safeway event up there that coincided with a home football game. And so I was in charge of all that, staffing all of that. We would have to staff 120 people for a basketball game, like UCLA or something. We would have to get 120 people up there. And we usually got like 107 or 110, and got pretty close to that, which I think was pretty good. I've heard horror stories of like 30 for those games. So I think we did all right. So not only was I making a living, like $16 an hour or whatever, but it was a blast. Holy shit. Are you kidding me? I'm like right there. I mean, I'll show you a few things hang on. Let me fix this. Where'd I go? Where am I? Oh, there I am. Okay. So there's some videos that I think I can show you without getting a copyright strike that of what it was like on the University of Colorado from the perspective of an event manager. Some of this stuff is like news footage.
I've been coming up there for probably 25 years, off and on. They come to the tailgates.
Some alumni tailgates are
I don't know if that audio is going to duplicate itself or not.
We bring better food and better booze and everything as we grow up a little bit.
On today's
I really should do this.
Philly cheesesteaks, cornhole tournaments.
So if you've ever been to a CU football game, this is not unusual. This is just parking outside the stadium. You've all seen this. But
they love their buffaloes.
If I go back to this, here's the ball presentation, the athletic director, Rick George.
Even when the Buffs experience their most dismal.
We welcome you as final members of the CU community.
So this is down on the stadium field
CU athletic director Rick George and CU
before a game.
Association President Mandy Yick would like to make 2 special.
Here's some more tailgating here.
First, the tradition, the commitment to football.
And that commitment.
Tailgating was a big part of the event day, so we'd have to get up there at 6 o'clock in the morning and start setting up. And we would have fans showing up pretty soon thereafter. And some of them, we had to turn them away because they would try to park in the parking garage, and we weren't even ready to take on anybody until, closer to 10 a.m., I think. But let me go to...
Though beer pong may be the only victory CU fans see, that doesn't stop them from showing up. Despite the team's recent struggles, CU fans continue to come together with one thing in common.
So if I go down to...
Week after week, CU fans and alumni flood Boulder in their black and gold, set up camp,
some of the basketball stuff that I have.
Even when the Buffs experience their
So CU basketball. Here's Ralphie. This is pretty cool.
The number one mascot in all of college athletics and college football.
It's just the most amazing thing.
Ralphie's awesome.
How incredible a tradition it has become. And it vast. really intense.
No other university has a program like this.
And the PA announcer, real deep, here comes Ralphie.
Here comes Ralphie.
She is quite simply
So,
the biggest thing in college sports. Ralphie
whenever I go back to this screen, I have to start all over again, which is a pain in the
on
ass.
Saturdays here at Folsom Field, over 50,000
But,
screaming fans
so,
are center stage.
here is something I want to show you. This epitomizes at least one of the most amazing memories I have working events anywhere. This video. It was CU basketball, decent team, top half of the conference, barely, I would say, right in the middle, against the University of Kansas, which for CU, that's their rival. For Kansas, not really. Their rival would probably be like any top 10 school anywhere. But within the Big 12 at the time, going into the Pac-12, I think we were already in the Pac-12 by then, but we were still playing Kansas. This was a rivalry. This is not quite on the level of CU Nebraska football, but pretty big. And so I'm the event manager for this game. We had to staff 120 people. Kansas came in, I think, number 2 in the country, something like that. They had beaten CU 20 times in a row. 20 times in a row. They beat CU 20 times in a row. Okay? So, rivalry game. Everybody's there. One of the best teams in the country. CU's decent. Very fanatical fan base. And they are neck and neck with Kansas throughout this entire game. So much so that the athletic director for that building, at CU they have athletic directors for each building. Guy by the name of Steve Peasy, he meets with myself and Gene Schlosser and another manager maybe. I think it might have just been me, myself and Gene. And he either said if we win this game or when we win this game. It would be cooler if he said when we win this game. He said, just let the students do what they do. And so we were like, okay, got it. And he also said, make sure everybody else is not on the court. So, second half, still neck and neck. Goes down to the last 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and CU is I think we're either down by 2 or might have been tied. And so we're not going to win this game unless something happens. And here's what happens. And as you can see, everybody's on the court. Here's another shot, another angle of it. I'm right behind the inbounds pass, by the way. Right where you see the official, the guy jumping up and down in blue. I'm right behind all that. So, as you can see, we did our job. We let the students do what they do. We did that. But I asked some Buff fans on a Facebook forum, and I said, "What's the most memorable game in the history of Coors Event Center? What would you say in the last 40 years the biggest moment was?" And over half of them said this game. And about 25% of them completely misunderstood the question and started naming like football games. And so you can throw those out because they were talking about the Nebraska win after Thanksgiving, 62-36. No, basketball, Coors Event Center. And so this is, I don't think it's even arguable that this is the biggest win, regular season win in the history of CU basketball, and it had everything to do with this mob scene on the floor being the memory. That's the memory. Is everybody? We had one separated. My memory is that we had one separated shoulder because we had to go back and debrief about how we managed this game from a security point of view. And secondhand, I heard, my understanding is that Steve Peasy was like criticized for telling us to let the students go. I think that that's probably tongue in cheek, though. I mean, I think that's just so the chancellor of CU, the head guy that knows probably not too much about college sports and how impossible it would be to stop 1,000 students from running out onto the court after they beat number 2 Kansas would be. But I believe that he was reprimanded for letting us do that like we had a choice. There's no way. But that was interesting. So all of a sudden I'm in this new industry where not only is it paying the bills, but it's like the coolest fucking thing ever. And so I continued to work that season, finished off football. Basketball went into, we had an ESPN game, met Bill Walton. They played UCLA that night. Might have been like a mid-afternoon game, but lost that game. But that was a lot of fun. And going into the spring, let me go back again because it won't save where I was. That would be too difficult. We started getting gigs that were not CU Boulder, and here's one of them. We were event security manager. Myself, Tammy and I were a team, I should say. I was the manager, and she was basically my assistant manager for American Ninja Warrior, the TV show in Denver. And so we had a staff of like 8 to 10 people, 24 hours for a week, where we had to watch over this event area that they build up. Everybody's seen the show, right? And so I didn't know very much about it when we started working this, but I found out pretty quick. So this is a fan video of that week, 2014, in Denver. Nothing really interesting, but I was there for this exact moment. I guess he injures himself here or something. Now I'll go back again, try to figure out where I was. Then we did a little something called Springtopia, which was a concert up in the mountains. Where the hell were we? Springtopia was Winter Park, and Big Head Todd of the Monsters and a band called Dumpsta Funk were having a pretty rad concert up there. And so this is Big Head Todd and the Monsters. What's cool about this is I'm probably not going to get a copyright strike for this, and it's a kick-ass tune right here. So, anyway, before all that happened, another really cool thing that we got to do was work quite a few Denver Broncos games. I was like a guest manager, sort of. I was basically helping the supervisors at the gates during games. I worked a lot of parking there also because I knew parking, so I could just slide into parking and have no issue with that. And so the 2013 season AFC Championship game, which was technically in 2014, like late January, I think, we worked that game, and we got there super early, 6 a.m., and I met with Matt Collin, who called a bunch of managers together to disperse them, put them into place. And he gave me a very interesting position to work at the AFC Championship game. He wanted me to work in the visiting team's coach's box by myself while an ex-FBI agent, not making this up, working for the NFL competition committee. And it's not the competition committee, but he had a badge that said something about a National Football League competition, something. It was his job to make sure to scan the box for recording devices, listening devices, that kind of stuff. Swear to God. And so it's funny looking back at Belichick and how he used to try to cheat. They were making sure that basically the Broncos were not trying to listen in on the Patriots coach's box. And so I had to go in there and watch him do that, and then stay until a Patriots coach came into the box and told me that he was not leaving until kickoff. So if the guy came in the box and I said, "Hey, are you going to be here for a while? You going to be here till kickoff?" If he said no, then I had to stay there. If he said, "Yep, I'm good, I'm here, thanks, whatever," then I would go back down and help with the gates. And that took a couple hours. So definitely made the coaching staff of the Patriots, I think this is the first time that they'd ever seen this, because they were like, what the fuck is going on? What are you doing here? What exactly is, what's the deal, yo? And so that was interesting. We also, for that game, after the Broncos won, got to go out onto the field, and I should see if I can find that. Broncos, wait. YouTube.
Do you want to know how much money?
No, I
One
don't.
of the channels
Shut
that
up.
received over
Broncos trophy 2013. Here. So I'm not sure. I think that this is not copyright. So we were on the field for this. We had to set up a perimeter around the stage during the trophy presentation with there was 20 of us out there, myself, Tammy, and a bunch of my friends. Set up a perimeter around the field so nobody ran out onto the field and jumped up on the trophy stage or whatever. And so let's see what this is. Yeah. Oh my God. So I'm in this shot. You can't see me. Now I'm not in the shot anymore. But I was on the field for this. If you see orange on the field, like solid orange, see all that solid orange? That is Argus. And so we just had to... We had a yellow divider rope that we had to hold so that we could at least establish a presence, I guess, of security. Tammy was on the corner, and once all the players got involved with the trophy presentation, a couple of those guys got kind of excited. They were running around, jumping around, and one of them literally did a somersault, like one of the D-backs, I can't remember who, did a somersault, like a gymnastic somersault, right over the top of Tammy to get over that rope, but ended up kind of clearing. See the solid orange in the background on the field? That's where we were. So that was a blast. I mean, I'm not a Broncos fan necessarily. I love to watch the Broncos win, but I'm a Steelers fan. So, but being part of that game was amazing. So. I don't know how much more they're going to show here. It's a shame that stadiums have gotten to the point where you look at the screen before you actually look at the field. Have you noticed? I might be old or something, but to me that is just fucking wrong. That you can't help but look at the Jumbotron. Now that the Jumbotron's bigger than the field, and you can see things better than you can in real life. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to exit out of this. What else did I have? So, what all that ended up doing was making me wonder, because when I was at World Arena, I thought, okay, who is the parking manager at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City or Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles? I mean, and what's that guy responsible for, and how much is he making? I mean, the parking manager. So as I beefed up my event resume with parking, event security, guest services, NFL games, college games, concerts, small concerts, big concerts, everything. As a manager, all of a sudden I thought, okay, what's next? Because for me, it wasn't really my dream to make $16 an hour. Argus was a good company, still is, but I didn't see a future with them necessarily. I thought I could get a little bit higher, a little bit faster if I shopped around. So I saw that the Milwaukee Brewers were hiring for parking manager at Miller Park. I was like, well, shit, they've got like 12,000 parking spaces. I researched all this, and I applied for the job. And I just, highlighted my resume to show my experience with business and event management, security and parking, and I got an interview. And they flew me out to Milwaukee. Now, in Milwaukee, you're not working directly for the Brewers. You're working for a company that is a contract parking company for the Brewers. But ultimately, you are reporting to the Brewers. You're getting information from the Brewers. You're working for the Brewers. And you have a go-between. Your boss is working for a company that at the time was called Imperial Parking. They shortened it to Impark. And I had my boss he brought me into Milwaukee and he described the job and told me all of the responsibilities and all that. And he pretty much word for word said, yeah, you'll do all this. And then the other 5 or 6 months out of the year, there's really not a lot to do. And so a lot of downtime. So I took that part to heart also, and interviewed with his boss, interviewed kind of with the Brewers, got to meet the Brewers a little bit, and got the job. And this was in early June of 2014. And so let me get rid of this. No, not yet. I could do this. Kind of a, yeah, that's weird. But, I'll just stay with, yeah, I'll stay with that. So anyway, going into Milwaukee, I was hired as parking manager. And I don't want to go into too much detail about that. I'll just show you what that's like. So Milwaukee, I was familiar with Milwaukee because I think I just lost my Wi-Fi. That's cool. That's always fun. I was familiar with Milwaukee because it's not that different from Chicago. A lot of people from Milwaukee would literally swing at me for saying that, but it's not. It's like a little Chicago. It's on Lake Michigan. Fixing that. There we go. It's on Lake Michigan. Same climate, obviously. There we go. And I had visited Milwaukee going to college hockey tournaments and stuff, so I knew the city. It's a beautiful city. There's more parks in Milwaukee than there are in, I think it's one of the most, they have the most parks out of any city its size in the country. There's parks everywhere. And then there's Summerfest. Let's see, I know I've got Brewer stuff in here. Oh, I forgot to show you fish camping. So we also did fish camping.
You knocked me out of my feet.
That's Big Head Todd the Monsters. I need to... Yeah, I lost my Wi-Fi or something. I'm not getting any new... Well, it's there. It's just not playing. Well, that's bullshit. So, well, screw that. I'll just continue to storytell. So, go to Milwaukee and start working for the Brewers, and it's overwhelming. There's 12,000 parking spaces. I started out in the cash room because we just took nothing but cash. It was like for certain games it would be $12 for the East lots and $15 for the West lots, the VIP lots and whatnot. And we ended up with a room full of like $100,000 worth of cash, and that had to be counted, and there had to be checks and balances and the whole bit. And so, see, I'm not connected to the internet. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to restart this bitch, because there is some really cool. I had some cool video of tailgating in Milwaukee that I wanted to show you. Restart. So I'm working in Milwaukee. I started out with the cash office, and like I said, almost overwhelming. Learned all the tricks of how they manage that much money. Learned about the traffic directors and how they monitor and influence traffic going into Miller Park Stadium. Miller Park is located like kind of at a confluence of freeways and highways on the west side of Milwaukee, and there is like immediate exits that go right into this circular frontage road, I guess you would call it, that goes all the way around Miller Park. And so you could literally look out the window and look at the freeway and look at the exit ramp and see if you were backed up or not, an eighth of a mile from the first row of cashiers. I'm trying to get this restarted again. And so I did that for a while. Then I found out that the guy that was handling the traffic directors, he was quitting. Apparently he wanted my job. This is what I heard. I don't know if it's true or not. But he wanted to at least interview for that job, which was probably fair. I didn't know the guy. I think his name was Justin or something. I didn't know the guy at all. Everybody seemed to like him. He didn't get interviewed. I don't know why. He probably deserved to be interviewed. What the hell is that? So, I'm going to try something. This is fish camping when I worked for Argus. This was in 2013. Crazy shit going on, including this windstorm. I want to see if they're Miller Park cashier. I thought that there was a video. This Scott Seiss guy is hilarious. Here. So, this is a news segment where they interviewed some of the cashiers at Miller Park Stadium.
Faces out there welcoming you to the ground.
Dozens of new people were hired this season to help tailgaters get to their parking.
This was before
This is so interesting.
I ended up.
Several weeks ago.
This is the year before.
On the whole job fair they held out there.
Yeah, Fox 6's Angelica Dury has some good news. She got the job.
They lined up early to claim their spot in line.
About 6 a.m.
For some tailgaters, it's tradition. For others, it's their first experience.
We had a good time last year for the playoffs, so figured we'd do it for opening day.
And to help guide their way into the more than 12,000 spots here, these 150 on opening day.
That was Kenny Hensler.
Goes smoothly.
Then this will be closed.
That's Penny. I worked with Penny.
It's Penny Krafchek's first day on the job.
A car in front and a car in back.
Right.
She is one of 80 new people hired this season to work the parking lots at Miller Park.
I'm in the handicap parking area.
Yeah, I worked with all these guys. Some of them, sadly, I don't remember their names. But there was only 100 of them. So there's Mark Mock. So this is my boss.
Krafchek went to a career fair.
Not the nicest guy in the world, but he was good at his job.
Lucky ones chosen for the job.
People go from
Are you crazy? That's really cool.
And still can't believe she'll be here for most of the home games this season.
I love baseball. I retired and I set a goal, and this is fulfilling that goal, to work at Miller Park in some way.
To your left, please.
In the sun, the rain, hot and cold, it's a job that will always have its
Hey,
purpose.
DH.
Game will always go on, and we're
So
on
DH became my assistant manager
For Kenny
while I
and
was
others,
there
The biggest perk is getting to watch the game
in 2015. Hey, double wand, Chris
So
Mosquito.
just being around it in any way whatsoever is thrilling to me.
At Miller Park. Angelica Duria, Fox 6 News.
So whether or not you're a Brewers fan, hate the Brewers, whatever, that town. So we go to Milwaukee, and one of the first things we noticed, Tammy and I, is we go into the mall, and we go into one of the sports stores. And you know, in Colorado Springs or Denver or literally anywhere, you go into a sports store, and it's like you have a majority of the apparel in the store has to do with the hometown team, right? So in Denver, you've got at least 55, 60% Broncos stuff. And then you've got Steelers and Bears and Packers and whatever. And then you go to the baseball section and you've got mostly Rockies stuff. But you've got Cubs and Yankees and Dodgers. And then you go to the college section and you've got CU, CSU, UNC. And then you've also got USC and you've got Notre Dame and you've got Texas and you've got Alabama, everything, right? So in Milwaukee, you go into a sports fan apparel store and you go in and it's all Brewers. It's all Brewers and Packers. And then in the back, you see like a third of the store is red. And so that draws you back there because it's like, okay, there's a different color back there. It's not blue and gold and green and gold. It's red. So let's see what's back here. Oh, okay. Now you get back there and it's like all Badgers stuff. Everything. You can't find it. And then over in the corner, in the very corner of the back of the store, they have this little display and a couple of coat racks or whatever. And they've got Chicago Blackhawks stuff in there. Ooh. Pretty cool. You want to know why? Milwaukee doesn't have a hockey team, so that was in there. And yeah, you would have like one tiny area that had some Cubs stuff there. And then you would have a few Steelers things and almost no Bears stuff. And then there would be another store that would have not apparel, but there would be memorabilia. And that store would have 60-70% Packers and Brewers, but it would have a lot of shit. Steelers, Yankees, Notre Dame, memorabilia, autograph stuff, giant pictures of stadiums. But Milwaukee is a trip, man. The people in Milwaukee. So when you go to I didn't even play that video so you guys could see it. That's bullshit right there. I can't believe I did that. I'm going to fix this right now. I'm over here talking like you can see what I'm looking at. Oh, I don't even have it set up. All right, hold on. Easily corrected. So this is the video that I was talking about, and you couldn't even see it.
This is so interesting. They lined up early to claim their spot.
So this is where...
About 6 a.m.
For some tailgaters, it's tradition. For others, it's their first experience.
We had a good time last year for the playoffs, so figured we'd do it for opening day.
And to help guide their way into the more than 12,000 spots here, These 150 workers on opening day make sure it goes smoothly.
Then this will be closed and everybody will be coming in. Yeah.
It's Penny Krafchuk's first day on the job.
Car in front and a car in back.
Right.
She is one of 80 new people hired this season to work the
So that's
parking lots
Penny.
at Miller Park.
I'm in the handicap parking area. And
I worked with
I'm
her.
Parking the handicap cars.
Really
and
nice
when
lady.
they're all parked, then I go down and it's the
I think she worked in Brewers one.
suites here.
And the traffic directors work in
There's
teams,
Mark Mock.
And they're trained on traffic flow.
Not the nicest guy in the world, blah, blah, blah.
Krafchuk went to a career fair back in March where more than 300 people applied. She was one of the lucky ones chosen for the job.
People go from, are you crazy, to that's really cool.
And still can't believe she'll be here for most of the home
And there's the main
I
entrance
love
to the
baseball.
stadium.
I retired and I set a goal, and this is fulfilling that goal, to work at Miller Park in some way.
Do your left, please.
In the sun, the rain, hot and cold, it's a job that will always
There's
have its
DH.
purpose.
The game will always
There's
go on.
that was my assistant manager in
And for
2015.
Penny and others, the biggest perk is getting to watch.
There's
the game
Chris
from
Mosquito,
the
double ones. I didn't want to not show this
So
video.
just being around it in any way whatsoever is thrilling to me.
At Miller Park, Angelica Duria.
So anyway, okay, I did that
The company that runs
because I'm stupid. I didn't realize I didn't have the screen set up. So anyway, there we go. That was an experience. Going into 2015, I had just come off the off season, which was absolutely fucking horrible, bad, terrible. It sucked. So in the off season, there's nothing to do. Remember when I said that Mark Mock said, oh yeah, there's not a lot going on. A lot of downtime. He wasn't kidding. There was nothing to fucking do. So he used to give me Excel spreadsheets that had nothing to do with anything. And he would have me build out reports on traffic patterns and attendance statistics, parking attendance, I guess you would call it, for Miller Park going over the past 4 seasons. And it was probably to get me to understand my job a little bit better, but it absolutely sucked. It was horrible. It was bad. And then I also would, this was kind of not a low light. This was okay. I got to work a 30-car lot right next to the where the Bucks play at Bradley Center. Of course, Bradley Center's gone now. And now it's the new NBA stadium. I totally forgot the fucking name of the stadium. But at the time, we had basically a VIP lot right next to the Bradley Center. And so we could charge $30 a parking spot for the Bulls games, Bulls Bucks. And I got to work that, and that was actually okay. It was kind of a pain in the ass. We had to work some events where it was Harlem Globetrotters, where they would have 2 games and we would have to work like 12 hours or whatever. But and it got kind of cold, but it was okay. I didn't mind that too much. But the rest of the off season, horrible. So luckily, the economy had rebounded, and I started looking for some other jobs because I wasn't really enjoying, especially the off season. And the job that Mark Mock gave me turned out to be a little bit different than I imagined it. I was kind of more of an assistant. I'm not bitter or anything, but really didn't have the free reign of decision making at all whatsoever. I did, like, if I didn't make a decision, then in my opinion, something could have very easily gone wrong. But I usually did it before Mark really wanted me to. I don't know what the hell he wanted me to do. Not bitter. No problem. Mark's a good guy. But I ended up bouncing around a little bit. Just once, actually. I ended up in medical uniform sales. because I knew the industry was extremely, it was increasing. It was, there was a lot of demand, a ton of demand for medical uniforms. It was like a new, I'm going to get this off the screen. This is ridiculous. Let me go back to this. So the medical uniform and supply industry, everything from scrubs to stethoscopes, was booming. And so I read some articles about it, went to work for a company that was called Uniform Advantage in 2015, worked there for a year. Then I went to work for Meijer. And I eventually got to work, I worked in general merchandise and in service, cashiers, front end, and got to know the loss prevention department was being overhauled, and where they used to have one manager for the entire Milwaukee region and about a half dozen detectives, they were changing that. And they slowly changed it so that there were managers in most of the buildings. They weren't paid very much, and so that was an issue for some of them. But then they changed that. Then they started to want to staff all of the Meijers in that area with not only well-paid managers but detectives to go along with those stores. And I wanted to work for asset protection. They changed it from loss prevention to asset protection. I don't know if that was part of there's kind of a difference. It has a little bit more to do with safety and liability than loss prevention, which has a lot to do with shoplifting and a little bit of safety. In theory, I don't know who decides these things, but I ended up working for asset protection at Meijer, and that was an amazing job. I went to work for a store in Waukesha that had, I was told going into Waukesha that they had one of the worst safety scores in the entire company, definitely in the region. And it had gotten a little bit better, but not much. And so I went in after 3 or 4 different APTLs, they call them, had gone in, and at this time it was coincidental that they were really, truly defining APTLs and what they're supposed to do. And it was starting to really fully organize. And so it was my job, I was told by my boss named Jacob, to go in and concentrate on safety and make sure that safety is my number one priority. Because I was supposed to, apparently I didn't have a ton of theft in my store, and I was supposed to just look after the safety committee and just do a lot of safety reporting and analysis and partner with a lot of the team leads and in some cases team members, and just make sure that everybody understood how to build a safer store. And so I took that store, I'm going to take credit for it because I did a lot of hard work, and with the help of my team leads, Vicky and the other Vicky, and the whole store really was very open to working with asset protection. We ended up number 1 in the company, tied for number 1, but it was still number 1 because we had a 0 safety score. And so all I ever did was I visited with team members during huddles with the help of team leads, and I said, just be aware of your surroundings. I used to call it the puppy dog method, because if I'm at home and I'm standing in the kitchen, I have 2 dogs and they're small. And so I'm in the kitchen making food, making a sandwich, whatever. There's a dog on this side of me, and there's probably a dog on this side of me over here, but they might be crossing over. They might be behind me. I never know. And so my vision was always pretend like there is a puppy dog, seriously, at your feet. Because one of the biggest injuries in a big retail superstore like Meijer is trips, falls, and muscle pulls, lifting. Those are like your top three. Trips, falls, muscle pulls. And so if you're going to move your feet at all, be aware of what is around you. I can tell you how many times I've seen somebody trip on a pallet, step on a pallet, step on it incorrectly, step down off of a pallet, step to where there was merchandise that was not displayed properly, and not realize that they, where they were stepping. And so you always have to pretend like there's a dog before you actually move your foot. You have to look to see where the dog is. And that worked. I'm sorry, it did. I'm not sorry at all. I'm so not sorry. But there was also a lot of loss prevention. So shoplifters, and that was stressful because I wasn't really the best at floor walking. I felt like I was really good at cameras and deciding what was about to happen and reviewing video and identifying subjects and working with Waukesha police, and actually ended up with quite a few apprehensions and found ways to catch shoplifters that didn't have a lot to do with hiding behind displays and seeing. I would be like right out in the open. I would wait outside the building like I was taking a smoke break I didn't have a cigarette or anything. And I would watch them walk in. And I would just follow them in about 10 feet behind them. And I would in that way, they're walking in the building and they're looking for me, and I'm already behind them. And that's probably the last thing they would suspect. So I caught a guy stealing steaks that way one time. Got really lucky on his partner who came in by herself stealing steaks another time, but that was just luck. And so that every once in a while, it's better to be lucky than to be good, or both. I don't know, however that works. But that was really the most interesting job that I've ever had. So it was basically, I had this history of retail, this history of security, but that had elements of safety to it. I mean, when you're managing a stadium with 11,000 people in it, it's all about safety and liability. It's all about who's not going to get hurt. That's why I knew that there was exactly one separated shoulder in the building when we beat Kansas, when CU beat Kansas at the buzzer. We debriefed that. We found out there was one injury, and it was a separated shoulder. The reason why is because we have to find out if we did our job. If we didn't do our job, we have to find out why. And you know how, I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. Everybody's job is like this. But my job, I think, ended up being kind of interesting compared to how it could have gone. I don't know what I really would have done if I didn't get really super aggressive with events. So I think bottom line is, if you're in a job where you can see the train, can you see the train? Because we're in one of those economies right now where you might be able to see the train. Do yourself a favor and think about these stories that I just told you. Because I don't know what city you live in or what kind of personality you have, if you're a people person, if you really can or can't stay on your feet for 8, 10, 12 hours at a time. By the way, those Broncos games, 16, 17-hour shifts. So they kind of toughened me up a little bit. Tammy, same thing. She's an alien. I don't know how else to describe it. But wherever you live, whatever town you live in, look to see, the next time you go to an event, look to see what they're wearing on their shirt. If it says, Allied Security, or if it says, what's the big one now? Just ask. Whoever's taking your ticket, probably not the ticket taker because they're trying to get you through, but the next guy, the guy that's like behind all that, that's just chilling, ask him about his company. Ask him how to apply for a job. If you feel like you see the train, or if you're starting to feel a little bit like a cockroach and things are starting to look like leather shoes. Do that, because I was 40 years old when I started doing all that. And I ended up with an absolutely amazing ten years of experience. It was like I was at an amusement park every day. And it was always a different amusement park. I mean, I went to Riot Fest and worked right in front of the stage. I swear to God, I had, what's his name? Punk rock. I had punk rockers crowd surfing on my freaking head. And I know that doesn't sound glamorous or even like sexy or anything, but it was a blast. It really was. And so just think about it. Think about how you can fit that into your schedule now, whether or not you would, if you want to take a chance and actually just throw yourself into it and just tell them that you have an open schedule, depending on how far away you live from your NBA, NHL, NFL, MLB stadium, or the local college, or the local concert venue, or whatever. Think about that. Amazing lifestyle. You work four or 5 days, you work 60 hours in 4 or 5 days, and then you're off for maybe a week sometimes. And so it was a lot of fun, and it got me to where I am now. Now I'm working for an extremely large storage facility, brand new Class B storage facility, and there are elements of customer service, security, everything's in there. And so property management, and I have to work a lot of CCTV review video footage for why did this end up like this? Was there damage? So that's what I'm doing now. I enjoy it, and I'm happy, and I'm in Florida now. So anyway, that's all I had to say. I think I'm done talking now, and look for this channel to have more similar videos about shit like this. And if you have any suggestions about stuff that you want to talk about, if you have any comments about this video, put them in the comments. That's why they're called comments. And DM me on Facebook if you want. Yeah, that's it. Appreciate you watching. Thanks very much, and good night.